Hello there, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it might be in your part of the world. Welcome back to the live stream. My name is Jeff Fritz. Let me dial in my headphones there a little bit more. How you doing there, friends? It is October 3rd, 2022. We're going to write a little bit of code today. How you doing there, chat room? See a bunch of folks wandering in. Let me bring up the chat. They're right over here. Look at how beautiful and sunny it is in Philadelphia. Let me say hello. There's the chat room, and my timer didn't start. You're supposed to restart there. I don't think it's that one. Is it that one? There it is. Let me welcome folks in for our opening 40 minutes in AMA here. Hello, Steven on YouTube. Good to see you. Clarice, how you doing there on YouTube? Harshavardan, good to see you. Gaspar, hello. Benode is here. Eternal Devcoder on Twitch. Good morning to you. Hello, Hustrev. Ali, how you doing there? Carl Edwards with a big wave to all. Hello, hello. Stefan is here from Serbia. Jens, good to see you over there on Twitch. Firewall Rocket 8. Hope you're doing well. Hope your firewall is doing well. Hello. You're excited about this episode? I'm going to take a slightly different approach with this episode. I was thinking about it. I was writing and I was like, you know what? No, we're going to do this different. We're going to do this different here today. We're going to get into that. Badger says 1 more month till .NET 7. Yes. So Badger's referencing, of course, next month is .NET Conf. We're about 5 weeks away. .NET Conf is next month. We should have schedule and announcements all going out this week about everything that's happening. You're going to see save the date messages going live this week. We're really excited about what we're going to be talking about .NET 7 and showing off and sharing with you, and hopefully hearing from some other folks in the community about all the cool stuff you can do with .NET 7. That's about 5 weeks away. We've got a couple other little announcements about some fun things that are going to be going on as part of the event. So stay tuned for more of those. You'll hear more about that on these channels. Twitch TV Visual Studio, youtube.com/.net. You'll hear more about it at both those locations. And of course, you can stay tuned and catch up on all of our live .NET interactions. Catch the recordings if you go to live.net. How you doing there, Banks Beauty? Good to see you. Bilal, hello to you in Pakistan. Dragos, hello in Romania. Fixter Jake is very excited for required fields by constructors. Oh, in .NET 7. Yes. Can you believe? Yeah, the last conference. No. The last conference wasn't 11 months ago. We had a Focus on Maui event just this past August. Lots of great stuff that we shared then about .NET Maui, all the cool stuff you can do with that. It's a little bit like not just Christmas, but whatever your gift-giving, family celebration holiday might be. It's a little bit of a celebration. Absolutely. Yes, live.net. Live.dot.net. And you'll find everything out there. Let me get some music playing here in the background, and we'll continue a little bit of AMA and chatter with the chat room. This is Stream Beats by Harris Heller. There we go. I'm going with a lo-fi playlist today. Something groovy, something kind of chill that'll be just underneath our chat today. This music, of course, is DMCA free. It's royalty free. Listen to it wherever you want. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, doesn't matter. Put it in the background. Have a great time listening. You can even download the songs and have them playing on your local device if you don't want to use a playlist from Apple, Amazon, or even Spotify like I'm doing over here. Check it out at streambeats.com. Big thanks to Harris Heller and his creators for making this music available for us to listen to today. I gotta say the whole bit there every time, otherwise somebody comes through and, hey, you're stealing music. Whatever. Hello to you in Boston, the .NET Full Stack Bootcamp. Good to see you. Gareth says, awesome Monday. Thanks for streaming today. Of course. Always streaming on Mondays. Coding Style, hello to you in Istanbul. Welcome in. Good to see you. So, today we're going to talk a little bit about Linux. We're going to talk about deploying out to Azure. And we're going to be running. See, if folks ask me this, whenever I start October and March, hey, you're going to be running in an emulator. You're going to be running in WSL. No. I have a Linux laptop right there. All Linux, front to back, top to bottom, built for running the operating system. We're going to be over at the other set coding, running on Linux. We're going to take a look at Visual Studio Code. We're going to take a look at .NET command line tools over there on Linux. And we're going to do this episode in the spirit of Linux, very open source. I'm going to write the README for this session while we're giving the session. I have an idea of where we want to go. We're going to talk about building and testing and using Visual Studio Code. I'm going to show you how if you want to get .NET configured for some syntax highlighting or some type ahead assistance, how you can get that configured using a tool called OmniSharp. And you can get that running in Emacs or Vim, your choice. Of course, there's a bunch of other editors out there that are supported as well. So we'll show you how that works. I have it running in Vim for this machine, for my configuration. I'm a VI person. What can I say? And we'll get in and we'll then talk about deploying our application out to Azure using GitHub Actions and get it running on a Linux machine on the Azure cloud. So full slate today. We're going to make sure that we take some notes and update this will be the second to last episode in this series that we're doing. The next episode will be a wrap-up, just covering all the things and doing a once-over showing the completed application, how it runs, getting a couple patches in the mix that I've done while we were off-stream, and making sure that we have all the questions answered before we go into the next series after that we're going to be starting. That'll be on the 17th. And we'll be talking about .NET MAUI for the next month or two. So probably right up until the end of the year, we'll be covering .NET MAUI. So yes, it is Ubuntober. That is the K-Focus, the Kubuntu Focus laptop that I'm using over there. Let me say hello to some more folks who wandered in. Hello to, is that Kika? Or is it Jeja in Poland? Crusher BITT, hello to you in Russia. Yanescu, good to see you. Is it Hainur in Iceland? Hello. Pavan, how you doing there in India? Chris Jones on Twitch, good to see you. Remth, how you doing in Spain? Hello. So, I do enjoy these episodes a little bit more than the hand-holding, very scripted series of episodes that we've been doing on this series, where we were going through and I had a very clear syllabus, very clear list of here's what we're going to teach, here's what we're going to cover. Doing something a little bit more free-form, a little bit more like live coding, going through, answering your questions as we're building, as we're writing content, feels a lot more like a conversation. And that's what I want to make sure that these feel like. They're less than a recording just over there on YouTube. We've got hundreds of recordings on YouTube. Dare I say almost thousands of recordings on YouTube of very focused content that answers your questions and gets right to whatever topic it is that you're looking for. That's great. And that's fantastic. That's all written. That's buttoned up. It does the thing that you need so you can do that research and find what you're looking for. But when you need to ask someone a question, when you need to figure out, you want to raise your hand in class and say, I don't understand. How does this work? Can we look a little bit deeper underneath how that thing is out there? That's what I think is so great about these sessions. Hey there, Carl Edwards says, greetings. So amazing to see people all over the world. Greetings from South Africa. Great to see you, Carl. Thanks so much for dialing in. So we saw folks from India and Iceland. So certainly, I think we've got some North American folks here. Egypt is where Ali is. How you doing there? So we got a couple folks from Africa, a couple folks from India and Asia. I'm not sure if we're going to have any Australian folk. Oh, no, we did have an Australian folk somebody from Australia early on. Stephen said hello. They're in Australia. Some folks in Russia. How are you doing there, Crusher? I hope you're doing well. Hope your government is turning the corner here. Copper Beardy, good to see you there. Rick is here from the north of England. Hello. Pavan asks, how can we move a Core MVC project from IaaS to PaaS? So, PaaS is Platform as a Service. IaaS is Infrastructure as a Service. Do I have that right? Infrastructure as a Service? These are, when you think about different ways that you can deploy applications, you can deploy, of course, out to a virtual machine that runs out there on your favorite cloud. I prefer a nice blue cloud, but whether it's EC2, it's in a container on Google Cloud, or of course, when one of the several different cloud container services that we have on Azure, you can do that. You can just package up your application, and it's out there, and it's effectively infrastructure as a service, a virtual machine or a container, and you maintain all the aspects of upgrading that base container or that base image that your virtual machine is on. We're going to deploy using Platform as a Service today, using Azure App Service. So the app service is already configured for you. You tell it the runtime stack you want. You get a GitHub action. You can get other scripts in other continuous integration platforms. You can run other scripts. I'll show you where you can get those other scripts that will deploy into Azure App Service, which is Platform as a Service, PaaS. And Azure App Service maintains all the operating system things that you could ask for. The version of the operating system, the patch level of the base framework that you're working with, the networking, all that stuff is configured and running for you. You just have to add your application into the mix. That's what we're going to be doing today. So how do you move it from one to the other? There's scripts and things that you can use then to retarget from just copy out into this container or copy into this VM to deploy with, in this case, Azure App Service. Clarice is watching from France. I hope you're doing well there in France. Bonjour to you. WQ Walter, it appears I started this project with Core MVC. Can the project also host Blazor pages? Yes, it can. So one of the great things about ASP.NET Core is we've pulled back a little bit of the prescribed capabilities of the framework. ASP.NET Core is a framework that several different user interface frameworks sit on top of. So, way back in the day, gosh, I used to give talks about one ASP.NET, and now we had one project type, and you could put all these different frameworks on top. And that's the way ASP.NET Core is. You can use MVC to build APIs or controllers with views. Add Razor pages into the mix if you want to build that page-first strategy into your applications. But you can also add in Blazor if you'd like. You can add in SignalR. You can add in minimal APIs. ASP.NET Core has this composable architecture where you can choose the pieces that you want to pull together for that. Now, I don't have the notes or the strategy or practice of pulling Blazor into ASP.NET Core MVC in front of me today, Walter. Do me a favor, open an issue over on the GitHub repository. Let me copy that URL into chat for you. Open an issue on that. There's the URL for the GitHub repository. And in next week's episode, where we're wrapping up and we're summarizing all the things, I'll show how to add Blazor pages into an ASP.NET Core MVC project. It's very doable. I'm about 80% positive on the commands. There's a couple things you need to configure properly, and I want to make sure I have some practice in on it first before I show and talk through it. There, Steven's in Australia. Thank you so much. Bulat is a Kazakh watching in Turkey. Thank you so much, Bulat, for tuning in. Motaba says these days Iranian dictatorial regime tries to cut off internet. Yes, it's terrible what some governments are doing. So glad that you're here, Motaba. Motaba. Thank you so much for tuning in. Eric says just the topic since you'll be deploying to a Linux server soon. Fantastic. A key thing that I want to make sure that all of you hear, that you hear about ASP.NET Core is we've set up the framework, we've set up the web tools so that it goes where you need it to. It's portable. Pick it up and publish it wherever you'd like. There's options when you get there to make it easier for you to deploy to your favorite operating system, your favorite distribution of Linux. And I want to make sure that you're comfortable with that and that you don't look at .NET. You don't look at C# and think, it's a Windows thing. It's not. It really isn't. We have very large applications at Microsoft that run on Linux with .NET. Very cool stuff. Hammer, hello to you in Malaysia. Divine Tech, how's it going there in Nigeria? Pavan says, big problem with the content folders which contain image files. How can we use blob storage for this? So blob storage, if you want to use blob storage for image folders, for image content, real easy to do. You can copy out and put blob storage out there and use a reverse proxy in front of your application. Something like Azure Front Door to pull together those two resources so that you map that blob storage to a folder inside of the root of your web application. So that should get you that experience. I'm curious what kind of issue you're having with images in the content folder, because that's not an issue that we typically have with folks. So, Pavan, I'd like to hear a little bit more. Hammer88 asks, what's my favorite hosting service? I like Azure. Okay. Pritish, you've done it. MVC with Blazor server is just awesome. Yes. It's and one of the templates, the Blazor server template enables that. You can do it out of the box. .NET New Blazor server, and it is configured for it. I don't remember the steps to add server back into an MVC application. So you could probably reverse engineer it. It's not hard to do, but I want to make sure I have the notes and the steps down correctly. Thank you, Pritesh. I appreciate the comment there. Hello, Authentic in South Africa. Good to see you. Stefan asks, have I heard of or used fast endpoints, minimal wrapper around minimal APIs? I've seen folks that have built this. I wrote a similar item called Instant APIs, but I have not tinkered with fast endpoints. Yeah. This is... I see what they're trying to do. It still seems like a heck of a lot more code than even what we were doing with instant APIs. So, and I think the instant APIs approach is even easier than this. Fast endpoints has a bunch of ceremony there. Yeah. Take a look at what we were doing with instant APIs. And there's a heck of a lot less ceremony there to use that if you really want to slim things down. Good morning, Napalm. Good to see you. Yeah, Hammer, like asking a Microsoft person on a Microsoft stream what their favorite hosting provider is, it's Azure. Going over to the AWS stream and asking them what their favorite hosting provider is, it's AWS. So that's kind of a given, right? Hey, M. Pulowski, good to see you. Diaco, how you doing there on YouTube, asks, how much do you have to configure the server for security when you're hosting ASP.NET Core? You don't. It's all taken care of because it's configured to deny by default. You actually have to punch the holes. You have to open things up to allow access. So when you configure things, going back to the comment earlier about being able to serve images, being able to serve static content, you actually have to add that configuration into your application so the web server allows that to pass through. So by default, it's secure by default, and you actually can't do anything. It's once you start punching holes that you start configuring things. I see Thierry with a message there on YouTube. No link to that. Okay. Pavan asks, how do we implement blob storage for content folders while moving the application to from infrastructure as a service to platform as a service? So, like I said, you're going to copy all of your content, put it into the blob storage folders, and you're going to want to mount and use something like Azure Front Door, a reverse proxy, to hang that appropriately inside your application. Either that, or you're going to need to write some sort of a handler that reaches into blob storage, pulls it out, and handles the /images folder. I go back to the question of why are you running it? What problem are you running into serving content from content folders? How you doing there, Juan? Good morning to you. Is that Paulo Braga? Am I going to demonstrate how to host two websites side by side on the same server? Well, when you're using app service, you put them in the same app service plan. So I can show you that today. Sure. Sounds good, Stefan. All the best to you. Hammer, I should reword that. Which is my favorite platform for hosting? Azure VM, Azure Functions, etc. I'm really enjoying Azure Static Websites. I've been using it for about 2 years now. A lot of flexibility in it. You can turn on OIDC if you need the OpenID connectivity to be able to force people to log in to access different functions and things. That's available for you out of the box. I use it with Blazor and Azure Functions, and it has a nice separation of concerns. Things run very, very fast there because I'm serving all my content statically, and then I come back and all of my functions run on a consumption plan. So if I need more scale from my functions, it just adds more Azure Function instances to support it and delivers and responds to that. I don't need to worry about scale at all because those Azure Functions kind of grow for me. That's really cool stuff. So I'm enjoying that approach. I still like app service for hosting when I want to take full control over the API, the interactions, and the whole pipeline. But for most of the things I do, Azure Functions is good enough for what I'm looking for. Scheibel, how you doing there on YouTube? Asks Scheibel? Shibble. I'll go with that. Can we host on a shared Linux server? Sure you can. ASP.NET Core allows you to publish what we call a self-contained application. That means that instead of having to go and apt-get and bring in various pieces of libraries and runtimes that you need to have laying all over the place, and your web server, you have to go and download that and install it and configure your web server differently for everything. Everything with ASP.NET Core installs into one folder, and you can configure that service in that one folder so that it runs and listens on a port separately from anything else on the operating system. And you can then run that same server. Well, you can deploy multiple instances of that server listening on different ports on the same operating system. It's really easy to do. I'll copy and paste the server around here and show you we can get it set up and listening on different ports on the Linux machine before we deploy it out to public. And it's all self-contained. It doesn't matter what other things you have installed on your machine because it's all in one folder. And you can just lift up and move that folder wherever you'd like. Very much like a container. So, do I know OpenAI Codex? No, I don't, but along those lines, we will be using GitHub Copilot today. Schmikey, how you doing there? Hello. Youngwook Park, how you doing? Asks, when I want to use Azure Functions, should I choose hosting on Windows or Linux? What is the most different thing between them? Depends. Is always going to be my answer to should I choose Windows or Linux, or should I choose X or Y? Depends. What's your scenario? If you need to use Azure Active Directory authentication, Windows. If you open OpenID OAuth authentication, you can use either. Linux gives you a smaller footprint. Linux is a lot easier to use with containers. Those would be the reasons why I would choose Linux. Windows is pretty much if I need access to Windows APIs or Active Directory, then I'll be on Windows. Stefan says deploying apps is not their strongest skill. Is it too difficult? It's not difficult at all. We're going to show you where you can find effectively the recipes for how to deploy, because we want to make getting your application onto the public web secure and easy to do and repeatable, right? Deploying the app once is easy. Anybody can do that. Right-click in Visual Studio, publish, boom, done. But how do you publish to the next version? How do you put the next version somewhere so that you can test it and verify and make sure that it works properly before you publish it to production? Those are all things that you can do. Those are all things that are available to you. We're going to show you just the basics of deploying and using GitHub Actions to get your application into Azure App Service today. So, like I said, we want to make sure that you're not just successful the first time, but every time. How you doing there, Nick? Greetings to you in Ukraine. Yes. Good to see you as well. I hope you're doing well and staying safe. Jamel, I just answered that question. So I have a couple notes of where I want to go on the stream today, but like I said, I'm going to do this very open source, and we're going to write the notes for today's stream as we get started, as we do our thing here, talking and building, going through our application today. So, hello to you, Alexander, in Ukraine. Always good to see Ukrainian folks tuning in. My father's grandmother on his mother's side, Ukrainian, came over on the boat, as we say here in America. So very much Ukrainian ancestry in my family. Pokey Willem asks, are we going full Linux today? Absolutely. We're not going half Linux or emulation or Windows subsystem for Linux. We're not opening a VM. No, we're going full on Linux, right on the metal. Open up Vim. Yeah, we'll use Vim. Sure. I'm going to show how to get the .NET syntax highlighting set up for Vim. We'll take a look at a little bit of OmniSharp today. Titus on YouTube asks, can I describe SignalR connections and why they restart again and again? Well, SignalR connections are connections that are made using preferably WebSockets. And if we don't have a WebSocket connection, it will step down If WebSockets are blocked at the firewall, it will step down to other technologies, including long polling, and I forget the middle one. Server side, SSI, not server side includes. But it steps down. I'm forgetting the middle technology. It will step down through these technologies to make sure that it gets a persistent connection. Why is it restarting again and again? I don't know. I'd have to see a little bit more of your application. But the fact that it is restarting and getting connected is a good thing. Yeah, I'd need to know a little bit more about the context of that. Hammer88 says, if my application generates and reads Excel files, better to stick to Windows currently using OpenXML. No, you're just fine running on Linux with that as well. Absolutely. Johanna says, great topic, hosting with Linux. Yeah, we're going to dig into that a little bit. And of course, I invented? Yeah, I did. I invented the theme month Ubuntober. Let's take a whole month and spend it with Ubuntu Linux. And since I stream over here on the .NET channel on YouTube, the Visual Studio channel on Twitch, I brought that theme month over here with me. But of course, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturday mornings most of the time, you'll find me over on Twitch TV CSharpFritz, and we'll be talking about and going through, and it will be on Ubuntu Linux all month long. Server-side events, that's what it is. Thank you, Matthias. Is it Matthias or Matthias? Looks like Matthias. Will I explain how to reduce .NET Core app size today? What do you mean by reduce? Help me out, but with what do you mean by reduce? Because when you publish, it eliminates and removes all the extra things in your application. Okay, Jamal, you're way off topic here, and Napalm says SignalR is pretty amazing. Yes, it is. Yeah, server-side events. Thank you so much. Sarvish, hello to you in India. Amir asks, is TypeScript supported in .NET for back-end development? Not for back-end development, no. But it is supported for front-end development. You can use TypeScript with a Node runtime and on the server side, and ASP.NET Core can merge and bring some of that into the mix. But typically, you'll use TypeScript with .NET for front-end development. For back-end, you're using a very slow technology to work with .NET. You would prefer, when you see the two side by side, you're going to prefer using C# with ASP.NET. The syntax is very, very similar. So, yes, publish trimmed, absolutely. Yep. So, yeah, you can add TypeScript into a project and it'll compile and give you the JavaScript that you can run on the front end. But there are ways to get the Node services on the server running. It's not something that we encourage anymore. So, who would want to use anything other than C#? Well, folks use F# and Visual Basic and other technologies for .NET. So, can Linux make a program? Really? So, excuse me. We got about 6 minutes left in our AMA here. And we're going to be talking about getting configured for .NET on Linux. We're going to get our. I will show you by the request there in chat. I'll show you how you can run multiple web servers, I'll even run. Now I'll run 2 different websites on the same Linux box in 2 different folders with 2 different web servers. We'll get that up and running. And then I'm going to set up and show you how you can deploy and get continuous integration running for our collections website that we've been building here live on stream for the past few months we've been going on this. And next week we'll do a wrap up. We'll cover a whole lot of review of all the things that we've done there. Do I know a good site or book for security tips for Windows hosting with IIS? Check out learn.microsoft.com. We have, I'm nearly positive that we have a course and reference material on that for security with IIS. No. They've changed the website here and made it a bit more difficult to search and find anything. Yeah. Where is it? What are you looking to do with security on IIS? I don't see any IIS. No, I don't see any IIS modules on the Learn training. But then again, yeah. But there is a bit of documentation out there on it that I can point you to, but I'm not sure what you're looking for. Hoya, how you doing there in Korea? Have we released .NET Core yet? We've released 6 versions of it, and it's now just .NET. .NET 7 is coming out in November. Moe says, I like F#. I saw we can use F# to develop MVC applications. Yes, you can. Absolutely. Basiloth asks, what's the purpose of Visual Studio Code when you have Visual Studio? So, good question. There are folks that want just a text editor. There are folks that want to have that very low ceremony interaction with their code. Particularly, folks on Linux want that. They don't want all of the trappings of an IDE, all of the capabilities to debug and performance test and unit test and all the things, right? The hooking up to emulators and integrations that you have in an IDE. They don't want that. So that's where Visual Studio Code comes in. Very low ceremony. It was small to start, but a smaller install that just works and runs everywhere. And now Visual Studio Code is the most used code editor in the world. Smartless Gamer asks, will this be recorded? You're watching on YouTube. It's recorded by default. Yes, it'll be available afterwards. As soon as it's over, it's available on YouTube. Yep. Alexander says, I don't like SignalR because it's a black box, unlike legacy .NET remoting. How is it a black box? Both versions of SignalR, both SignalR for .NET Framework and SignalR for ASP.NET Core for .NET 6, are completely open source. So how's it a black box? Help me understand what you mean by it's a black box. So, how you doing there, Chandan? Hello. Skylex, good to see you over there on Twitch. VS Code is a lightweight IDE. Some would say it's a text editor, even with a collection of plugins. Yes, it has an amazing collection of plugins that folks really like. You joined late? That's okay. We've got about another minute and a half here, and we'll get into the content. Hammer asks, for EF Core, is it possible to lock a row before updates, such as blocking inventory? Pessimistic locking like that is something that we don't typically encourage. We prefer to do optimistic locking. So you can include a row version inside your tables, and it will handle that for you. Hello, Surge Dev. Good to see you. Seyo Wea. Any resources I know of that outlines things to look out for when migrating an ASP.NET Core app from Windows to Linux? Case sensitivity in view paths. That's a good question. I don't know of a specific document or recommendation to get folks seeing the differences between the two. Yes, you are going to want to look for particularly file structure. You're going to want to look for any references to Windows, right? If you see Windows dot in your source code, you're going to want to jump on that and change that. Those are the big things, right? Working with I/O is going to be the biggest one that folks run into. Writing things to disk. All the interactions through the network APIs are properly handled in the runtime and routing appropriately for the different operating systems. But when you hard code folders and structures working with file paths, that's where you're going to run into an issue. Do I recommend Node for a backend? Absolutely not. You're first off, you're watching a .NET stream. So, no. Node is 7 times slower. Not 7 times slower. I'm sorry. It is orders of magnitude slower than ASP.NET Core. No. Node is full of security issues, and maintaining and updating and getting through all of those things and making sure you have a stable collection of NPM packages that work together properly and securely is tenuous at best. You're going to need to analyze and make sure your specific collection of packages works well. No. Be careful. Don't do that. Is deployment done? Any experience in PLC? No. Sorry, Carwin. What's happening in 2043? It's just a label for a faux chip there in the background. I'm going to finish these last couple questions and we're going to move into today's session. Woody asks, how can I publish with specific app settings that I want, or .NET will take the app settings JSON file as default when I publish? Yes, it will take the app settings JSON file as default. It won't copy out those other specific versions. You'll see, we'll look at this today. And you actually want to apply your specific configuration for your environment in that location when you get out to that service. So, SignalR is built under server-side events, WebSockets, and long polling, but do not allow you to use those possibilities separately. Right. The idea is it's going to get the most optimally available, fastest performing one, right? That's the abstraction. That's the value of SignalR. It'll get that fastest one, WebSockets, and if that doesn't work, it'll fail over to server-send events. If that doesn't work, then it'll fail to long polling, which will always work. So the idea there is you always get connected, and you don't have to write the test for that. If you do want to work specifically with one of those technologies, you can install and work with those technologies. So, ASP.NET Core isn't necessarily the same solution as Node, though. Prove it. Prove it. Tell me. Microsoft top secret and very funny, Serge. Is it better to host on Linux or Windows Server? Depends. If you need access to Active Directory and the security things that come with Windows, Windows. If you don't, you can host headlessly on Linux with containers and all kinds of tools. You can also host with containers on Windows, but works great on Linux as well. Hey there, Ahmed. I'm doing just fine. It's worse than you thought. Yeah. How you doing, Crypt Lord? You're not familiar with Linux equivalent to Windows services? Yeah. We're going to get into the site stopped running or server restarted. You found Linux unreliable. No. I'll point you to the Linux service installation documentation. I'll copy it into the notes for today, that link. It's not something that I'm going to configure today, but we'll show and get that running. All right, let's get ready to head over to the other set here, we can get into things. Yeah, it looks good. We're going to get running on Linux in just a second. Let's see. That. No. No. The screen lock, even though I turned off screen lock still turned on. Thanks. You believe Node and .NET have their own spaces? Really? People more often use Node because it's easier to have the same language on the front end and back end. Really? Okay. Okay. There's a lot you sacrifice by going to JavaScript for that. So, let's get ready to head over to the other set. Let me get... What happened here? I got a smudge on my gunner glasses. Let's get those on. Love my gunners. All right. We're going to head over to the other set. I will see you over there. Yes, yes. Other set. See? It's... my screen lock turned on. Yep. Even though I told it, no, you don't do screen lock. No, it's still turned off the display. There we go. All right. And I've got things turned around today because I'm on the Linux machine over here. I've got the Windows machine over there so that I can see chat and interact over there. Can I share a link or point to the Twitch channel where I have a project with 2 databases? I do not have a project with 2 databases, Finn. Why do you need 2 databases? Let me know. How do I feel about Python? Python's interesting for beginners. It's space dependent, which I feel is something that's antiquated and no longer something that we should be concerned about in writing our code. Learn more and be a polyglot. Yeah, absolutely. Blazor allows the same front-end, back-end language? Yes. What's the name of the glasses? So these are Gunnar glasses, Gunnar. These are the Torpedo Razor Edition. So they're green. They have stuff from Razer hardware, just like Razer mouse, right? This one isn't an RGB. It's just a wireless mouse that I use here. So let's put this over here so I can still get to that. No, Razer, R-A-Z-E-R. So what was the outdated thing in Python? Being space sensitive. The number of spaces, and it must be spaces, in a Python file is significant. Which is something that makes it not accessible to, yes, the indentation makes it not accessible to folks with different eyesight requirements. So folks who need different sizes on their screen, they can't see things the same way. F# does have a similar issue there, yes. Yes, this is a space-sensitive shirt. That's right, NASA. All right, so let's jump in here. I'm going to close a couple of these other tabs that I had open. We're going to be talking about this one today, deploying an ASP.NET web app out to Azure. I'm going to close some of these other items here. Yeah, we don't need that one either. So I am on a Linux machine. This is a machine from KFocus. Let me get that lifted up. There you go. So it is not a typical Microsoft machine that you'll see me using here. It is not a Surface. It is front to back, top to bottom, all Linux, all the way down to the hardware. It's running a version of Ubuntu called Kubuntu, running with KDE here. I'm going to jump over to this panel, and let's make things a little bit bigger here. And I'm going to jump over to my dev branch, go into our C# with CSharpFritz, grab the main branch, pull in the latest, and there we go. we're going to start talking about getting things set up for .NET and, of course, getting some of our other tools running here. Let's run over and open Tmux here, make it a little bit easier for us to use some panels to bounce back and forth. So I do have, well, you know what? Let's do this. I'm going to drop into my sessions for season 2, and we're going to go into the collection website here. I'm going to use Visual Studio Code on this folder, just so I can edit their readmes, make it a little bit easier to do that. No, wait a sec, back over here. And we're going to move to desktop 3. I like having Visual Studio Code down on desktop 3 over here. There's my readmes I was working on previously. Now I don't want to see all that stuff. And we're going to set up and work on a new element here. Like I said, I'm doing this open source style. I'm showing you how everything is made. Look at that. Look at that. That is Copilot suggesting that I'm doing a deployment session next. Yes. Let's do that. Fantastic. So I have a nice entry right there for deployment, but I actually need the folder. Know what I'm saying? So let's go create that folder. Back over here. I'm going to copy where we ended with the 1209 auth to 1210 deployment. Yeah, I forgot the -r. There we go. Okay. So now I have content sitting over here. I'm going to update the README. 1210, thank you. All right. Let's deploy our application with Linux to Microsoft Azure App Service. And I'm going to copy in some of the other links. Wow, look at that. Not quite what I'm looking for. We'll get there as we go along here. All right, let me take a look at chat. Let me get caught up on a couple of items being mentioned over there. Let me see here. 2 DB contexts, like one for employee and registration stuff, one for products. Doable. I don't have one that does that though. You can do it. It can be difficult. It changes the way you interact with Entity Framework. Your command line tools now need to specify the database context you interact with. How important is it to put settings from an MVC app in secret storage? Asks Johannes. It's very important because you want to make sure that you don't inadvertently deploy those secrets to production, or I'm sorry, you don't want to inadvertently put those secrets into public source control where everybody can see them. That's a problem. Hello to you, Alwyn in India. Hammer asks, can't wait for .NET Core to support Raspberry Pi. You mean those? How's that? Yep, we've done it. It absolutely supports it. I've got 6 of them there that are running .NET Core. So, absolutely. .NET Core, .NET 6, you can run natively on a Raspberry Pi. Container services or app services? I prefer app services. Container is great also, because then you can register, put container images out there, stand up multiple instances of those easily if you need to as well. But app service is just as easy to grab a little slider, move it across, and say, give me 12 of these. Boom, done. Python also has a good package manager. Yes, Python does have a good package manager. Pip. Is Stack Overflow built using Blazor? No, Stack Overflow is built using MVC, which we've been learning and interacting with here. Why Polyglot when you can just .NET all the things? You can do that too. No, this is not the first session. One way to know is to check Network tab in your browser and see if... What? I don't know what Badger's talking about. Folks, you don't have to type the same message 3 or 4 times. I do read every message in chat, okay? Does Ubuntu have tab completion like DOS? Yes. How to best simple one-cycle publishing from Visual Studio? I would FTP if you want to do just a one-time deployment. Yeah. The Copilot popping up like that was pretty good. Yep, works really nice on Pi. So I want to come back to getting that running because I want to get, as part of Hacktoberfest, I'd love to get Playwright running on those and testing ClipTalk over on the other stream. Entity Framework needs to catch up. I wonder if multiple database support will come in the future. It is available with multiple database context instances. Yes. Cool. Thank you. All right. Let's get into this. So, I have .NET installed and available on this machine. I can run .NET here at the command line, and it tells me, hey, yes, you are running .NET. And, of course, if I run .NET info, it'll show me, here's all the .NET CLI instances that I have installed. I have 3.1, 5.0, and 6.0, and a bunch of frameworks here that I can work with, just like I had on Windows. It's all the same out there. If I want to install for this machine, for Ubuntu, install .NET on Linux, there is now... No, there is now official package installs available for you to be able to just apt-get and install. It is now moved over, and it's available from the official supported repositories. So it's officially supported in Ubuntu 22.04. Now, I've got it installed, and here, other ways that you can go through and make sure you get this. I've already installed it from the packages Microsoft com feed, but you can very easily do an apt-get update and apt-get install to get it on your machine. That's the way we install packages with Ubuntu. It's already available on all the Red Hat repositories as well, so you can install using Red Hat's package manager. It's really easy to go through and use. Taking a look here. Let me catch up. I saw a bunch of questions come through. Was that a cluster or just individual pies? That was a cluster, Mike. It is set up with Kubernetes with mini K8s on it. No, K3s. Do I find any benefits in hosting with Linux over Windows other than personal preference? Speed, and it's a bit faster, and a little bit, the security by default is a little bit better. Linux doesn't need the expensive Microsoft license. This is 22.04 that I'm using. It's a Kubuntu distribution I'm using. Is something like Nginx useful for ASP? Yes, you can use Nginx to reverse proxy your ASP.NET Core application. You don't need it anymore. Do I usually work on Windows or Linux? Windows, however, when I travel, I prefer using my Linux laptop. It is significantly faster than any Windows hardware that I have. Henry asks, what do I think of YARP? Yet another reverse proxy. YARP is amazing. YARP is really good. It's extremely fast. A number of Microsoft properties use YARP now, and it's something that more folks need to get on the bandwagon with, because it's going to be a significantly used framework on the web. Cost-wise, Linux is cheaper to host on. It's cheaper to host on, however, it's more expensive to pay for all the folks that need to tweak and tune and get it running. So, all right. So, that's how you get .NET onto your Linux machine. And I've been using it off of the Microsoft packages feed. But if you're brand new, fresh installing, you can get it directly from the official feeds, and they'll install and run for you. So, once that's installed, the next thing is I want it in my tools. So, I recommend you check out OmniSharp. OmniSharp is a community-led project to give capabilities into your favorite editors: Atom, Brackets, Emacs, Sublime, Vim, Visual Studio Code. This is how, for the longest time, we made the syntax highlighting and autocomplete capabilities available to all of these editors. Fantastic stuff. We used Yeoman templates for a while to get that working. And this team of folks built it. So, very cool. You'll notice, though, that the leaders of this project are actually Microsoft employees. And they made it easier for folks to build and work on Linux, on our favorite operating system for these folks, right? Great. We can get things installed and running, and I particularly want to call out the Vim instructions, because it's real easy with just a couple of plugins you install with Vim. Okay, and I hate the white background here because it reflects off the green and it makes things look weird. But install OmniSharp Vim plugin using your favorite editor. Install a linting plugin and a selector plugin, and create some mappings, and you're done. Now, I have configuration for this available on my GitHub. So if I go github.com, CSharpFritz, .files, you can find my .files for how my vimrc is configured. And I've only got a couple things in here because I want it to be as simple as possible. But I've also got some install scripts that I have here in my bin folder, so that when I get to a new Linux machine, I can just go get my plugins and install them every time. Check it out. That's on GitHub under CSharpFritz .files. And you'll see how I get Vim installed for working with .NET. Consequently then, right, I'm going to leave this one open. And let's rename this to Vim. So I've got my tmux down there, my tmux tab. So, right, let me go into, 12.10. And if I do, I want to go into source. Yes, there we go. So if I start in here and we take a look at program, I've got syntax highlighting in Vim for C#. I've even got items that are called out here that it doesn't know how to resolve. So let's go back to there. And I'll .NET restore. Cool. And if we go back over here, these should clear out once it understands what they are. I forget how to do that. Actually, I need to upgrade the server is what's going on there. I'm not going to spend time doing that, but I can easily now go through. I can use my nerd tree over here to navigate and interact with all my content, right? So razor highlighting isn't available in here. That's okay. I can still interact with and do all the things. So I feel good about being able to work in Vim with this if I need to, right? My models. And there's the collection item. So it's not bad, right? I can find my way around, I can work with it, and I can do all the Vim keystrokes that I like in interacting with my application. Yes, go away. All right. So I can work in Vim. I don't like working in Vim, but I can. And I have Visual Studio Code over here I like to use because even if I want the Vim keystrokes, I can install that extension to get Vim emulation if I want inside VS Code if you prefer those keystrokes. And I know there's other folks out there that really like that. So that's available to you, but I can still do that mouse-driven and very familiar set of keystrokes to interact with and work around in Visual Studio Code. Jeremy asks, no hopes for Maui on Linux? They are not currently supporting Maui on Linux. No, there are folks that are building and working on it. There we go. Badger, thank you so much. So that's available to you. Now, there was a question earlier about being able to share hosting on the same web server, right? On the same Linux machine. Well, everything comes packaged together here. So let's rename this to hosting, and I'm going to split in half this way. So let me drop into sessions, season 02, collection website, and this time let me go to 1209. And inside source, if I .NET publish, and I'm just going to put this into a folder called dist. What this will do is not just compile, but it'll do some tree shaking, and it'll get rid of all the other things that I need, and bring in all the libraries that I need. So everything to run the application is now sitting in this dist folder. So I'm forgetting. No, I didn't want to do that. I'm forgetting. I nearly forgot my tmux keystrokes. So you can see inside this folder, I have all my localized content. I've got the code generator. I didn't tell it to put this out for production version. Stand by. Go up one. And I'm going to get rid of dist. Let's do that build one more time, except I'm going to put it in release mode. So -C release says put it into release mode. And now when I drop into the dist folder, still put the code generator in there. It also shouldn't have put the development file in there. Wasn't expecting that. All the files that I need to run the application are sitting here, okay? So I can start this, right? This is called My Collection. You see My Collection site right there, right? Come here, you. Right there, right? That's an executable. That I can run right here, but let me... No, let's do this. And I'm going to say HTTPS localhost, and let's host this on 7000. So this command started the application. It's listening on port 7000. There it is. And I can click to go navigate there. Yes, I know it's not private. Thank you. Oh, I need to build the database. Yeah. I don't have the database here with me. So let's do .NET EF database update. Oh, all right, fine. What is it? Should be right here. There it is, my collection DB. So run that one more time. There's the database. There it is running locally on localhost 7000. But we can run this on another port as well. So up here, I'm in 1210. So this time I will write .NET publish. We'll put this into release configuration, and we'll output it to the dist folder. So it's the exact same application. It's just in the dist folder. I'm going to copy the database into that dist folder, and I'm going to run that same .NET run. No, not .NET run. My collection site, and this time I'll have it on localhost 7500. And there it is on localhost 7500. Two different websites running on the same machine, two different server instances, two different sets of configuration, but they're running as two different processes hanging out there, right? So if we split over this way, right, and we do a there it is. There they are. My collection site, my collection site. They're both running, right? So on a Linux machine where you want to be able to set up multiple instances, very easy to do. Okay? So that's available to me. And because I've packaged my application and placed it in multiple folders. It works the same way when you put it into a container. I can set up a Docker file, put it into a container, and I can run multiple containers the same way. I can copy and paste multiple instances of this, put them in separate folders, and start them independently of each other. Really cool stuff that's available to us. Okay. So I'll close all that down, and now I'm back here at the command line. I see it seems the C# extension in VS Code seems a bit broken since .NET 6. I haven't had any problems with it. What are you seeing there, Henry? The team is actively working to improve it, significantly improve it. So, what's that next to the clock? The 1, 2, 3, 4? Those are desktops. Those are desktop instances that I can bounce around, and I have the ability to manage. So, yes, 2 processes. Yay. But, right, I can certainly stand up and run as many of them as I'd like on Linux. Chandan asking, why Web.config in .NET Core? Web.config in .NET Core is needed when you deploy a .NET Core website, an ASP.NET Core website, to run on IIS, on Windows Internet Information Server. It helps configure that so that that web server acts as a reverse proxy into the Kestrel web server that runs in ASP.NET Core. Kestrel is our native managed web server that we build and deploy, like I just did here just now, with our website so that everything is one unified deployed package. When you want to put Windows authentication into your application, you want to stand up a reverse proxy using Windows IIS, the language that framework, that web server uses, my apologies, not framework, that the IIS web server uses is Web.config. So when you go to deploy, so that you have that available to you, and if we take a quick peek in dist, it puts down a Web.config, because if you lift this and put it down on a Windows server, it's right there for you. So, and when you look at this, It's just saying ASP.NET Core, use the ASP.NET Core module, load this DLL. Done. Easy to do. Easy to do. So, cluster all the web servers in Kubernetes and it can go really crazy with processes, for sure. Why .NET Publish isn't on release configuration by default, asks Diaco. Because there are people who want to publish on debug configuration, on development configuration, or maybe even other configurations as well for testing by default. The release configuration can be specified. I'm thinking environment. Folks may want to deploy with debug configuration. My apologies. Deploy with debug configuration when you're going into testing, because you want to see full stack traces. You want to be able to get the full set of information coming out of those errors before you're ready to go to production, and you want to turn on the aggressive optimizations that you'll get from release configuration. So, Kestrel is the default for Windows, Linux, and Mac. Kestrel is packaged. Kestrel is packaged with ASP.NET Core. It is the web server for ASP.NET Core. You can, we have certified it for use on the open internet. You can use it there. We recommend, for security purposes, it makes sense to put a reverse proxy in front of Kestrel, like IIS or Nginx or Apache. They help a little bit with the structure of your application. But it's not the default, but it is what's packaged, and you can host without any additional ceremony using that. How you doing there? Digital Lab for Africa TV in Senegal. Hello, hello. Welcome in. A Poppy Flower says, love the content. Would it be a good idea to install a SQL Server in Linux and use it as a database? Or is it something that'll be bad long term? Nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing wrong with that at all. You can absolutely do that. SQL Server we have available for you as a Docker container. I'm trying to remember the... Wait, hang on. Close those. SQL Server... I'm trying to remember the Docker container image. Somebody was asking about this. Windows, Linux, blah, 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 blah. There you go. So, yep, we'll run it in bash, fine, blah, blah. And we'll do that. And now it's going to go get SQL Server and run it locally here. Nothing wrong with that at all. It's supported and you're able to run here. So why not? So why not? Here it comes. Final couple meg to load. Come on. Come on. You can do it. Get there. It's not a small container. I mean, it is SQL Server, you know. But you can absolutely stand it up and put it wherever you'd like. And there are licensing requirements, licensing considerations in running this. I haven't gone too far into it, but for the purposes of testing and developing locally, real easy to get running here. Yeah. Right, so now if I paste that in, no. I don't want to do that. Ooh. What? Yeah, if I copy, will that just run? No way. Okay. So it's now running, and I can connect in and interact with it. And it's sitting there as a Docker container. Right there. Behind my coffee mug, it's sitting there. Cool. Nice. You can control how you interact with it. And, of course, all the tuning and things that you would expect in SQL Server are available right there. So I don't want that running right now. I'm not using it as part of this application, so I'm going to yank it. But very easy to fetch and install and use. I'm going to grab that document and add that in here. Install and run .NET with scripts from .NET. Configure OmniSharp for Vim, Emacs, and your favorite editors. Oh. OmniSharp.net. Okay. Install, configure SQL Server for local development using Docker. And we'll put some markdown around that with a link there. I'm going to turn off those tabs. Take this out of English mode. Cool. I want to be down here. So let's check out, I'll call this 1210. I actually want to be in that folder up top. So let's add the readme. I want to remove the dist folders. Nah, I can do it up here a little bit easier, can't I? 1209 source dist. Source dist. Good. Let's see what else. First commit. First commit on this branch, right? And we're going to push this into 1210 and there we go. Cool. All right, ready to go. Let's see, catch up here. We will use this for development for near customers. Cool. Arthur says, watching for over a year now, I'm the one who's convinced you that C# is modern and not legacy like Java. Thank you. Appreciate that, Arthur. All the best to you and your project teams. Murray on Twitch asks, am I using WSL for this? No. This is on a Kubuntu Linux laptop. I am on the metal. There is no WSL going on here. So, test message. Hi, Anton. Okay. So, we saw where we can get this stuff to install .NET, how we can run multiple websites on Linux, because when we publish, we get everything in the folder we need in order to run the application. So now I want to take this content and I want to push it and have it run somewhere on Azure. I want to actually get it deployed out to a cool location where everybody can interact with it. Now, how do we do that? I've already got a link already set up here. I don't think this is the one that I wanted to use. No. So I'm going to grab this. deploy to Azure App Service with Azure Portal. Yeah, that's fine. And I will link this for you. Let's get rid of the tab selection, the language selection. Cool. So let's make this a little bit more realistic, and let's copy our collection website and put it into a separate folder, right? So, we've been working on this website. It's not part of the big CSharpFritz website Git repository structure, right? There's a lot going on in there. So let's grab just that 1210 and put it into its own folder. I keep all of my development stuff under a dev folder structure in my user folder. You see I've got a lot of projects that I've been tinkering with and whatever in here so that it's easy for me to find and it's isolated from the rest of the operating system. And if I break it here, I broke it here, you know? Who cares? So let's make a directory here, and I'm going to call it collection website. Okay? Let's copy into that. Let me do it up top so it's a little bit easier to see. Right? So let's drop into the 1210 folder. I'm going to copy the solution file, source, and test and put them in the collection website dev folder. So just copy the whole thing, right? And I'll put it into dev collection website. I forgot the I forgot the -r. So now let me go over there. Dev collection website. So I'm going to keep the readme here. That's fine. Next, let's set this up as a Git repository. So I will git init. I don't like the main branch being called master. I prefer it called main. So before I go any further, let me go over to GitHub and let's create a repository for this. So I'm going to go to github.com, new repository. There we go. No, I don't need that right now. This is fine. And I'm going to call this my collection website. A simple collection website that was built on stream with friends. Okay, this is a public repository. Don't add a README file. I already have one, so I don't need to do that. Yeah, sure. Give me a git ignore. The git ignore for .NET content is actually called Visual Studio, so I'm going to grab that one. License, sure. Let's put a license on this. I license all my stuff as MIT, and we'll create that repository. There it is. Cool. Let's go get that code. I'm going to copy that link. And I'm going to git remote add origin. There's the address for it. And I'm going to git pull origin main. There it is. Cool. And all my stuff needs to be added in at this point. Interesting. It didn't bring down. Didn't I get... Yeah, there's my git ignore. Why does it still see VS Code? I don't want the VS Code folder in there, so let's edit our git ignore. No, it's not in there. Huh. VS Code. Awesome. So add all the other things. Okay, looks good. Right? Nothing out here looks out of the ordinary. Yeah. So let's commit that. Love the command line, right? First commit. And I'll push. Done. Refresh up here. And now my code's here. Okay. Now this is where I said I want to be able to repeat this. Now, if I didn't want to repeat this, if I wanted to do this just one time and be done with it, I could open Visual Studio Code here. I could say, I don't have the Azure extension installed in here, do I? I thought I did. I can install the app service. Yes, sign into Azure, please. I'd like to, if you don't mind. I'm now signed in. Good. You didn't make me do the whole back and forth. And I thought I was signed in. Azure. Blah, blah. Yeah. So there it is. There's my subscriptions. But what I should be able to do is deploy to web app. And now it'll give me the ability to deploy and set up which folder I want to deploy and where it goes and all this other thing. And I can step through and I can do all of that from here. Go back. Right? Deploy to web app. This one. Specify which one that I want to put it in. Is there a resource group to... a resource to put it in? I thought there was a way to do a new in here, and I don't see it. The focus of where I want to go, and the instructions for how to do that, they are over here, and you can follow under Visual Studio Code about how to do the publish for it. Okay? What I want to show you how to do, that's not how you spell Azure. We need to make almost like a drinking game for the number of times that I have misspellings of Azure and other common terms here. Taking a look at chat there. Thank you so much, Jara. Code Vortex. Will Windows Auth work in Linux if I move cool.NET apps to Linux host, which is inside an AD domain? I don't think so. Fauner asks, will create a workflow GitHub action for CI/CD control. Yes, that's what we're going to do. Stefan asks, are tests included with production build release? No, because I'm only building the one project. I'm not building the test. Do I work in NASA or Microsoft? I work at Microsoft. All right. So I want to deploy. I want to specify where I'm going to put this. No, I don't want to create a dashboard. I want to create an app service, so I'm going to choose app service. I'll choose create. See, Microsoft employee. And I'm going to put it over here in my Windows Azure. And I'm going to put this in my Fritz stream resource group. And I will call this Fritz collection website. There we go. I'm going to deploy code, but I can also choose to deploy with a Docker container or a static web app. I'm going to choose code and specify we built with .NET 6. This is that platform as a service. I have to specify this is the configuration of the machine that I need in order to deploy my app. I want to put this on .NET 6 in East US. A Windows plan. No, I don't want a Windows plan. Is that because... No, let's go back. Yeah. Discard that. It should have... Did I just jump right past it? Try that again. No, I want Fritz stream, Fritz collection website, and I'm putting this down on .NET 6. There, it was right there. I want to put this on a Linux machine in East US, and I want to create a new resource, and I'm going to call this new resource Fritz collection sites. I do not want a premium v2. You can make this whatever size is appropriate for you. I'm going to go to a little dev test machine here and make it the smallest one here because I'm just demonstrating here. So I'm going to create it with just a gig of memory. I can set up redundancy if I want, but I'm going to click for deployment next. Now, why won't you let me choose? I need to go back one. I bet you it's because it's too small a server. There we go. Too small a server. Can't do it with the smallest test. So I am enabling continuous deployment. My organization I want is CSharpFritz. And I'm waiting for this to pop up so I can choose my collection website. So look at all the stuff I've been building. My collection website. And I'm going to deploy the main branch. And it's going to give me a GitHub workflow file right here. Because I've authenticated GitHub with Azure, it's going to generate this file and put it in our project for me. So check out the steps that it does. Let's talk through this briefly. It's going to set up .NET Core for .NET 6. It's going to build with .NET. It's going to run .NET Publish, upload artifacts for the deployment job. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. Because I'm out of artifact space. Yeah. I'm out of artifact space. It's not going to work. And as a second job here to do the deploy, that's going to download the artifact. Why is it called .NET app? And then deploy that to Azure Web App. I'm not a fan of this step. All right. I can set up any networking needs that I need, monitoring capabilities with App Insights, tags if I want to put tags on this so that you can quickly identify it later. And there's all the details of it getting running. Go ahead and create that. I can even download a template for automation if I need. But this is going to compile and put the website out there for us. So while that's running, let's take a look back over here at chat. Is hosting on Azure free for personal use? No. There are, when you do sign up for an Azure account, there are Azure sites and credits that you will get for the first year completely free. West US 2, Best US 2, sorry, East US 2 for me. Hey, Brave Cobra, good to see you. Can I specify whether to use an SSD or HD? No. I don't think you can specify that, no. Hosting with SSL will require more effort in Linux than in Windows? No, actually. That's something that we can configure here in just a second. Hey, Rick, good to see you. There we go. So, Fritz Collection Sites, my app service plan is built, and here it's deploying the actual app. There it is. So, app service plan, think of as like the VM that hosts a bunch of websites. The app service is that website running on that VM, but I use the term VM, virtual machine, loosely, okay? So I can manage deployments for my app, protect my app with authentication. Okay. I actually want to go to my resource. There's Fritz collection website. By default, there it is. It's on HTTPS. I didn't have to do anything. It's just available there. And if I want to set up and deploy a different certificate, I have these settings here, and I can set up a different host name and bind it all right here. So very cool stuff. The custom domain for a different domain name. I don't care if you see these things because I'm going to knock this down as soon as the stream is over. But I can set up and deploy a custom domain here if I have a DNS that I want to configure, right? An internet name. So if I click through to this, it should work. It's running, it's waiting for content. So if I come back over here to my collection website, here it is building. Why aren't you scrolling? There it goes. And it is in the midst of deploying to production. I can click into there. There we go. It's processing the files to send up to the web server. This is the benefit of continuous integration. This is one of the things that we really like about GitHub Actions. You can also do this with Azure DevOps. Being able to set up a free deployment so that every time I make a change to my website, it does this update and puts it out on Azure for me is tremendous, right? This is what makes deploying and using this suite of tools so reliable. It's one suite that works together to make you more productive and ensure that you can deliver with confidence to the cloud, to the public web, applications that are going to benefit you, right? Make you productive. So I didn't have to think about all these things about how do I build? How do I do all these things? It's in the box. Go, run it. And here, package deployment initiated. We'll see this complete in just a second. And it'll all be available out there. So that's a cool thing, right? This is the type of interactions we want. There it is, all done. And I can scroll up to the top here, and I got big green check marks there to indicate success. And right, they are check boxes. Inside green, it's a red X if it fails for, once again, thinking about accessibility, so folks can see that no matter what. So I'll go back over to here, refresh, and we should see my site running. You deployed. Where is it? You told me it's deploy logs, app service, application. Yeah. Where's my website? Should be there running. I don't know where you routed me to. That sure looks like the front of the portal to me, not the deployment center. Yes, restart it. I just deployed it. Where is it? Nope, it's not here. Okay. What the heck happened? Let's just double check my instructions here. There's a configuration option that I thought it said I needed to make sure I hit. No. The resource group, yeah. I don't see it. I mean, we literally followed the instructions and it says it's deployed. So now what? I thought there was a configuration that I needed to set. No. No. All right. So where did it put it? Let's take a look. There is... We can take a look inside the app over here. It'll open a shell right inside our application. There we go. So there's nothing in the dub root folder. Why not? This says it built and deployed all the things. My collection site. And it published source bin release. There it is. You know what? We can make this edit here. Let's set up the web editor and let's make this change here. I don't think it actually published. So I'm running on GitHub Code Spaces here in the cloud. .NET root there. Where's it picking that up? This should be running. I'm going to run .NET Publish on the source folder. This is running on the entire thing at the root of the application. So I want .NET Publish to run for that specific folder. So .NET Publish, let's take a quick peek here. I want it to run for, yeah. Can I do that? So if I do .NET Publish source and dist, and I want to push the release version there. And I can also insert in here .NET Test, right? There's dist. Yeah. So that's what I want there. And I could run .NET Test here if I wanted, right? Add a .NET Test step in here. .NET, right? .NET Test, we can tell it to go and run in Project Solution. Cool. So I can just say .NET Test, test. That doesn't look weird. There's my tests running. So I'll just add that into the mix. So if it stops, if it fails, if my test breaks, I'll have it there. Updated to publish the source folder, source project. That should do it. Cool. So now let's go back to the repository. There you see the yellow dot. And we should see, there, setup.NET Core, build with .NET, test with .NET. That's the new one that we added, right? There are unit tests. That's right, Brave Cobra. Yup. So, now I'm not going to wait a while. We're going to get this running. Cloud computing is just somebody else's computer. It's a really big computer in the sky. We've got about 5 minutes left here. This should build and deploy just fine. Where am I running the server right now? It should be in US East 2 is where I'm targeting. There you go. My test. See, my test ran successfully. There it is. Right there. Ran .NET Publish. And it put everything into the My App folder. So that, there you go. 428 files it's going to push up. And that should be in the right place when we get into Azure over here. Yeah. Site. /site. root. That's what I'm looking for. It arrived. It's there. Come on, run it, man. Why am I not getting it to run? That, oh, that deploy isn't finished. It's not all there yet. It's being deployed from GitHub. You're going to give me a star for my work? Thank you. Is this real? Am I employed at Microsoft? Yes. There we go. Complete job. One more time. No. Files are there now. I don't think it knows the entry point. Deploy to artifact, deploy to Azure Web App, publish profile package. Yeah. It doesn't know how to start it, is what I believe is going on here. Oh, there we go. There we go. This is the same thing. I don't have the database deployed with it. Okay. Because I'm running on a SQLite database, it didn't copy and deploy the database with this. I have 1 minute left. Would I be able to sneak that in real quick? Would I be able to? And I believe I put it in collection DB. No. Come on, go find it. Collection context. I think I may have hard-coded it here. Where did I put? Let's see if it's just a .db available. There it is. My collection site.db. It's right there. That's what I want to include. My collection site DB. And that should do it. Let's see if we can get that. We're right at time. Let's excuse me. Let's see if we can get that deployed. So, you cloned your project and it works in local? Yeah, it should work in local. I have /root /root now. Yeah. Yeah. That's not weird at all. Excuse me. Let's go to site, /root. There's the content. And yes, I am inside /root, and there is a /root right there. So yeah, it does look weird, but this is where the web server is hosting. This is where my static content is, and it knows how to resolve that. So, uploading for the deployment. Come on. Database as an afterthought. Yeah, right. There we go. Copying it out. There it goes. There it goes. Now, I could have done an ensure created to make sure it gets out there, but this should be just fine. There we go. Fantastic. While that's finishing, yes, we're going into that branch. So, is that all I put in the notes? I need another deployment. Sure, pull that. Pull that. There's the notes for deployment. That finished deploying. Let's see if we get a website. I'm feeling good about this. Nope, didn't get it. I'm missing something in here, and I'm willing to bet. Yep, there's my collection site DB right there. There's something just not... Something not configured quite right with that database. I will get that fixed and into the mix here, but that'll be a good lead-in for me to update next time. So it's in there, the database is there, it's just not quite running properly. There we go. But it's all deployed. It's all out there. I don't have my database set properly. I will dig that up. I will have an answer for you next time when we talk about the wrap up. We're going to go through, I'm going to show everything in its fully finished running state. I want to answer questions about the APIs. I'm going to add some more unit tests. I'm going to round out the authentication stuff. I'm even going to add a little user interface so that I have roles there. We'll get that done in the mix. I could finish before lunch. Unfortunately, I have meetings in the next hour, and there's other folks coming to you in just a little bit. So I need to wrap up. I need to call it a day. And we will get that last fix, and it's something in my CS proj with that database file. We'll get that deployed and configured properly, running out there in production. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you saw and you got a little bit out of how I built, deployed, and got it running on Azure. It's running, I just don't have the database set right. You started collecting hats too. You prefer snapbacks? I do too, Arthur. I'm a big fan of snapbacks. This one is a threaded back, but there's one of my other NASA hats. Oh yeah. Stork! So, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me see who else is streaming on the big Twitch TV network. Let me get you connected to someone else, and we will be back next week to wrap up, call it a day. I'll have some more notes updated on the website, all about how we built all the cool stuff here around the collections website, because I want it to be a template that you can learn from, go, and use in other places. Taking a look around the Hornet, who else is building, developing, and talking about tech? I would love to send you over there for the giggles. But those of you that are on Twitch, those of you that are on YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're on Twitch, I'm going to take you to somebody who's going to be talking about all the stuff that's important for Twitch streamers and all the things that are going on over there. We're going to go over and visit with Loco. SpaceX is on? Is SpaceX on? Hang on. If SpaceX is on, we're going to go to SpaceX. No, they're not on. Neither is NASA. No. They're not live right now. Yeah, let's go check out Loco. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will be back tomorrow over on my channel, and we'll be talking about Blazor and deploying things to Azure. We'll see you then.